Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. You ever wonder why jumbo guitars don't seem to be very loud? I mean, we associate with electric guitars, right? Okay, like the speaker cabinets. The bigger the cabinet, the more the speakers are in it. But even if you stuck one speaker and you put it in the middle of a 4 by 12 cabinet, right? What would be the size of one, but it only supports one speaker, 10 inch, 12 inch. That's going to create a lot of volume, push a lot of air, right? And of course, the sound of your guitar is definitely dictated like a lot by your speaker itself. We already know that. But anyways, then you take the same speaker and you throw it into a smaller cabinet, and it's like, wow, that like really reduced a lot at the same exact settings, same volume, same everything. It's much more lower in sound output. And it's like, okay, so the bigger it is, the louder it is. So a lot of people thought, guitars, like that's the thing, right? Like a very small guitar isn't going to be very obnoxious. And we're going to go through a couple of these guitars today because I have various size guitars, right? So let's go through this one first and let's just listen to it. Okay, now I can easily play and talk over top of this thing. So as I'm playing, I can talk to you at the same time. I'm sure you can hear me pretty good. I can hear myself fine. And one of the things I used to struggle with was volume output of my vocals for years. Now, I've not really had jumbo guitars, technically. I mean, this is the second time in a row with the exact same guitar for me, because I used to own one of these before. And anyways, I am starting to finally get used to the body size more so. It's not that it restricts my playing capability so much as it's not a comfortable guitar to stand up with. Sitting down, it seems to be much better. So now we have my Martin guitar here. This is my new GPC 11E. That, by the way, is an Epiphone J200. So this is much smaller. It's not anywhere as thick. It's not bulky. And so let's play a little bit of this one. And I'm using the same pick. So I can talk over top of this one, but I do find that as I'm playing and talking that, the EQing of this guitar, it is kind of forcing me to raise my voice a little bit. So it's a much louder guitar. It has more crispiness to it too. Also has some really nice low end, which for a big body, that thing does lack some low end, which is quite odd. Now, both of these guitars are solid wood. Okay, so you got a $1,500 guitar being the Martin, $700 for the Epiphone. Both are solid wood. And of course, I don't really, maple wood back and sides, two-piece split, on the back, but it's all maple except for the top, of course. They're all spruce tops. Now we got this little mini koa. Now this thing's a cute little thing, and it's made out of all koa wood. Now it's layered back and sides, but still a solid top, but it's koa. And we're going to listen to this one. This is an obnoxious little guitar. I'm using the exact same pick, so I got to remember to put this pick back into that other guitar later. But this is pretty loud for such a small guitar. And I mean, you can tell me yourselves, because I want to hear your opinions. Which one was the louder one? But did you notice that the bigger guitar was still much quieter, right? So that's that guitar. Now, that's an $1,100 guitar, but price doesn't make a difference here. Now, here's an interesting little beast here. This is the Fender CC60S, and it's got, I guess it's laminate on this one. Could be layered, but probably laminated back and sides. Solid Sitka spruce top. A little bit different body shape and so on, right? But this thing can pump out some volume. And I'm trying to repeat the same exact pressure too. It's no reason why I'm using the same pick. I can feel the pressure. pretty crazy, isn't it? You know, when you start looking at it. Now, the next guitar we're going to take a look at is actually my Yamaha right-handed guitar, which I probably won't do as well playing-wise, but I'm going to give it a go. I really got to spend more time playing right-handed. Now, this guitar has definitely got some punch. So not all small body guitars are actually going to be really super loud, but some can be. But where you get a lot of the volume from on the Taylor is there's no frame structure in the back. It's actually got a slight arch to it. It's got like a belly arch from about here. So it's not flat and it has no framing in there. So it actually gives the amount of volume a little bit more. And when you look at the size of sound holes, they're very similar between the Mini and the J200. And of course, all these are very similar in size, but they're all outputting more volume than our jumbo size guitar. So in the world of guitars, a bigger body is not the advantage for bigger volume. Okay? It's not like a guitar amp with the cabinet and the speaker, right? It's kind of the opposite system. So it really doesn't matter that the guitar is made out of solid wood. Now that's maple wood, which doesn't quite resonate the same way or have the same kind of flexibility, we'll say, than something like koa wood, which is a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more, so it can resonate a bit better. And the tops, definitely, I mean, an all koa wood top is beautiful. But spruce is kind of like one of the top choices for tops on all acoustic guitars. It is one of the top choices. There are guitars, mind you, that are cedar topped, koa obviously, many other types of materials, but the most popular wood used in acoustic guitars has always been spruce. Okay, and when you have a solid spruce top, which is kind of wild because, you know, this is an under $300 guitar, and yet it has a solid spruce top. That was something that years ago was unheard of. You never got solid spruce until you spent like maybe $600-700, you know, Canadian dollars. But nowadays, you know, even for $240, you can get an acoustic guitar with a solid top. And a solid top is definitely going to be better than laminated when it comes to sound, projection, when it comes to resonating, EQing of the guitar itself, more balanced EQing. But this whole body size, this is weird that for such a big guitar, it really doesn't have a lot of volume output. You know, so the guy I watch him in the blues, he's thinking, well, maybe it's, you know, the fact that it's a solid wood guitar, but it's also it's big, it's solid wood, it's maple, right? Or maybe it could be the fact that it's an all glossy guitar. Well, my Fender and my Fender is all glossy. Yeah, even the Yamaha is. There's a micro, like a nano finish of varnish as a finish on the Alcoa Taylor. The Martin has a glossy top, but it also has satin back and sides. So all these different combinations of finishes, I really don't think it's the finish so much. Now, I do know that a glossy top will actually deaden a guitar's tonality, but it could be in a pleasing way, it could be in an unpleasing way, depending on the guitar and the person. I prefer basically what Taylor does with an all satin finish. Now, they do have guitars that got gloss on them, obviously, but you know, I prefer the satin finish in a guitar more than anything. Okay. Now with the Martin, of course, there's no option there. It comes with a glossy top at the back. The back and sides are satin, and it's an all solid wood guitar, right? And they are different woods, but you know, we're talking physical dimensions here. We're not talking about wood types. We're talking physical dimensions. You know, this is a big guitar, and like I said, the sound holes are all relatively really close in size to each other. You know, if not probably slightly a hairball bigger on the Mini actually. Um, but on a big guitar like this, if this sound hole was just a little bit bigger, like we see that we have, you know, this distance gap here between the pick guard and the rim, if that rim was a quarter of an inch all the way bigger diameter of a sound hole, which could be done without interfering with the fretboard, if it was like that and that much wider, I bet you this thing would put out a lot of volume because it's being suffocated. Big guitar's got a lot of noise inside, a lot of volume inside, but it just can't push it out through the sound hole, which is kind of where I'm thinking where things kind of lie, because it has nothing to do with the type of wood. You know, this could be an all laminate guitar. It wouldn't make a difference. It would be just as quiet. But the air has nowhere to really go. So it's kind of, when you look at a guitar, you look at a guitar like plumbing, okay? In a sense, because if you have something that's got a big hole here, a big cavity, and you're trying to force it into a smaller area, it's going to slow down the flow. It's going to restrict volume. Hence liquid volume, the amount. So we have a large guitar with basically a small hole at the other end, and we can't really push out the sound very well in this big body throwing all of that and it's trying to squeeze it out, and it gets restricted. That's why your guitar, for a jumbo size guitar, is not so loud. Because I mean, even singing over top, you know, I have to do one of my own pieces, I'm sorry. It's one you've heard before. So vocally, I can get over top of this guitar really easily, and I do really like the EQing of this thing, especially with Elixir Nano Webs on it. This guitar just comes to life with Elixirs. It's just one of those things. But then if we want to move across to something like the Martin, smaller guitar, right? Same pick, by the way. To struggle a little bit more to try and push my projection of my voice out more on this thing, yet this thing is so much thinner, smaller, no way lighter, and this is yet an all solid wood guitar too, so it has nothing to do with the actual wood material. It's nothing to do with body size as far as certain aspects go, but that sound hole is perfectly matched to this body, and it pushes a lot of sound. Now you could also argue string height too, but they are actually very much similar in string height. There's not that much difference, but that can actually alter sound output as well. Some people find that the closer the strings are, the quieter it is, and the further away the strings are, the louder it's going to be. There is probably some truth to that. I'm not going to argue that one, okay? Because I have this thing where, you know, string gauge makes a huge difference too. These are 1254s. That's 1253. But that's not the volume issue. The volume issue was there even before I put on those Elixir strings. It was the same thing, it was a quieter guitar. You know, my preference, mind you. Now, the strings on the GS Mini, those were 1356. They're pretty meaty strings, you know. But I've also run 1253s, And yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it's about the same volume, so we're not really losing volume there. And action height on the Taylors are very similar to Martins, some Martins at least. This one's kind of like a low to borderline mid. And these are still the factory strings. But then they're Martin lifespan strings. So you might like a jumbo guitar, but you might not like the volume output. So, that's something else to keep in mind. So I'm looking at the action on this in comparison to that, and they're almost identical. Almost identical. So we can't really say, oh, string height really makes that big of a difference, because I don't really think it's going to in this case when they're almost identical actions. We do have a gauge difference of 1253 versus 1254. So, but I mean, we got 1356s too, and we've got 1253 on the Fender, and the same on the Yamaha actually. Except I didn't put elixirs on that one yet. This is quieter. And the EQing on this is not quite as punchy. Which I'm not complaining about the guitar or the sound of the guitar, And like I said, this is comfortable to sit down and play. It is just not comfortable for me to stand up and play this thing because it's so thick. Like, this is a monster guitar in comparison. But if you've been wondering why double guitars aren't seeming so loud as guitars that are much smaller body, I'm pretty sure we pretty much answered that. It has nothing to do with the type of wood being used. Body size and dimensions, yes, it does alter the tone of a guitar, for sure. And smaller body guitars to jumbos, yes, they are going to be louder because their body cavities that have all that sound going inside and trying to escape out again can escape a lot easier. Okay, where something like this is like plumbing gone wrong. Big pipe into a small hole restricts. If you go the opposite way, where it's smaller or more closely matched to the same, then you can get more flow, more volume out, more, in this case, sound. So kind of think of that in the reverse direction, and that's kind of what we're getting on the other guitars is the plumbing is more to where it should be, where this is kind of like big, oh, small, oh, no volume, right? And if you bring the action up too high on a guitar, it just becomes unplayable. So it's kind of like, and I'm not a fan of high action by any means. Mid-level action, I'm okay. Low to mid, okay. Low as possible without buzz, I'm in all over the place. So my electrics tend to be set up extremely, extremely low. But my acoustics are kind of like, I usually leave them around factory. Maybe I'll shave a little bit off depending on the guitar. But I haven't had to modify any of these, for lowering the string height. And that's done all at the saddle end here. And a little bit at the nut if you need to. So don't touch the nut until after you've figured out where things are sitting first. Because you only get a one-shot deal on any of it. But I thought this would be an interesting video. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. You tell me in the comments, did you find this video informative, educational, boring, kind of, now I know why. So you finally got an answer to why is this. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. I thought this would be a good video to do. I think that from where I'm coming from at this, it's not how much gloss is on that. That can restrict some vibration, definitely. Totally agree there. But it's not going to restrict the sound output or the volume output of the guitar because of the type of wood it's made out of. And it seems to not matter if it's laminated or solid bodies. That's not where it's at. It has to do with the physical dimensions of the guitar, and the bigger it is, the quieter it's going to be unless it has a sound hole that can compensate that difference to allow more volume and more air out. Kind of like, our guitar cabinets, the bigger the cabinet, even with one speaker, let's multiply my Black Star cab 4 times its size, same speaker, it's going to be really super loud, even at the exact same volume level. But that's a different type of system than this. This is bigger, but we don't have that big of a sound hole for what they've made in the Behemoth here. Had they made this sound hole, like I said, even a 1/4 of an inch in diameter bigger, this would put out a lot more volume. Okay, and of course it would change the EQing as well of how everything's bass, mid, and treble, right? Because now we would hear more of what's being suffocated. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you on the next one. See ya.